Are you romantic? Why is that? Is it because you have feelings of romance? Because you have liked a boy or a girl, or both at once? Can there be another definition of romance? I think so. To understand this definition, let's look at pollution. Let's start with pollution. We have so much pollution in the city. The rivers are dirty. There is so much industrial smoke in the air. People find breathing difficult. Trees are being chopped, and there are activists trying to fight this. They're trying to garner public support and stop the felling of trees. They are working so hard. Can we learn from history? Has there been a similar time in history? Yes, of course, history repeats itself, right? Let's go back to London, the beautiful London. It was not so beautiful in 1760, 1780, during this period. It is because of industrial revolution. The same thing that's happening today in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, the same thing was happening in London during this period. People were leaving villages, they were leaving their farms, and they were coming to the city to work in industries. They were living in slums, the rivers were dirty, and lifestyle was not very good for them. So how did this problem get solved? There was a group of poets. They decided enough is enough. People have to understand that nature is important. You have to live in nature, with nature. You are a part of nature. And they decided to dedicate themselves to telling people to become happier by living in harmony with nature. Okay, one of the poets was William Blake. He decided, I'm going to influence the next generation of people. I'm going to tell them exactly what needs to be told. He wrote a very telling poem called London. He said, this is about London, but you can apply this to Mumbai or Delhi. I wandered through each chartered street. A chartered street is a street meant for commerce. Okay? It's been designed in such a way so people walk on it and they look at the shops, they look at the different clothes and they buy it. A chartered street. Think of it as a street which is not free. I wandered through each chartered street near where the chartered Thames does flow. The magnificent river Thames, even that is chartered, meant for profit. And mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. This is him describing London. William Blake and some other poets decided to form a movement. They formed a movement called Romanticism. It meant telling people that you are a part of nature, you're not separate from nature. Another bloke called William Wordsworth, he decided that he's going to use real language of men to convey his message. It means he's going to use simple words and he's going to simplify things for people and tell them very, very simply that you're doing a mistake by living in smoke and fog and garbage. Now, doesn't this happen even today? You have so many viral poets, you have spoken word competitions where people talk simple words and they appeal to your heart. So isn't the same thing happening today? What's the difference? There's one missing factor in today's culture. This word I'm going to use is also the backbone of my channel. This word is called depth. What we don't have today and what William Wordsworth, William Blake, John Keats and others had during that time was depth. Do I have an example? Of course I have an example. It's a very, very interesting example. In 1802, nearly 200 years back from today, he wrote a wonderful poem called, it's popularly called Daffodils, in which he describes his experience of coming across a field of daffodils, a line of daffodils by a lake. It was a very important poem. Some lines from the poem: for oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood. When I'm lying down on my couch and I'm not in such a good mood, what happens? They flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. you're not feeling so nice, you're not feeling so good, and then suddenly you have a flash of something beautiful you saw, say a field of golden daffodils. Doesn't it happen to you? And then at once you feel good. You were sitting on the couch, you were pensive, you were not in a good mood, you were lonely, and then you had that flash of something pretty you saw, a field of daffodils, and from lonely you just became alone and content, bliss of solitude. Imagine you're a woman living in London at that time, you read this poem and you tell your friends about it, and then you decide to go and walk in a field of flowers. That's the impact William Wordsworth and others had. Remember, there's no internet here, there's no Instagram, there's no electricity, there's no television. So poetry and the written word had lots of impact. So is this poem popular today? A simple Google search will give you the answer. It is one of the most popular poems in the history of English language. See, daffodils were always exquisite flowers. People have always loved them. But the experience of being among the flowers and what they do for you, what they do for your soul, that experience comes from William Wordsworth. That depth comes from William Wordsworth. It is this depth that he wanted to use to get people out of the misery of living in smoke, dust, garbage. And it is exactly this depth that is needed today. This depth, according to me, is romance. It's not sufficient just to say the flowers are pretty, the flowers are beautiful. What do the flowers do for you? They flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. That's what the flowers do for you. That is depth, and this depth is romance. I hope you agree. Thank you.